Hi, Beach Channel. My name is Carla, and you're watching Production Legends. And my guest, Eric Gennard. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Thanks for
And
having me.
so let's dive
Mm,
flat out into how you launched
mm,
a cookware brand at 22 and then made a bold, very bold leap
mm,
into film.
mm.
I'd love to know if there were any skills that you were able to bring with you from being a scrappy startup to then doing another scrappy startup.
The funny thing is I always wanted to do what I'm doing now from when I was young. And I studied acting when I was young, and I did local theater and stuff down here. But coming up in a Cuban household that was super conservative, that
Yeah,
was just not a practical path. And we had an opportunity. I was studying business. We had an opportunity to get into this company, and it was basically a startup with a few family members and some funding that we had. And we went through so many trials and tribulations with that business early on. We almost went bankrupt half a dozen times the first few years. And but the interesting thing is you go through those experiences and you really learn. And it's so true that you learn from your mistakes more than
if you
from your
don't
successes.
learn, then the mistakes are not worth making.
Yeah,
That's what I always
a
say.
hundred
Yeah.
percent. And so we went through so much, but I learned how to manage money. I learned how to manage people. I learned how to manage personalities
Yes.
and find efficiencies in things. And the business, when we started, it was selling a couple $100,000 a year. When I left, it was a little over 20 million a year, and it had gone up
That's
just
insane.
exponentially. It was selling product in every
Is it
major
still
retailer.
selling?
Oh
Can you
yeah,
still get it?
now it's
Where?
it's
Tell
in
people.
any major retailer. I'm not part of the company anymore, but the brand is Imusa. And if you go to any Target, Walmart,
Hmm.
Publix, any major retailer in the United States sells the product,
Did you bring
essentially.
me anything from it? Because I'm
I, d-
hosting you.
I
No.
didn't.
Okay. Whatever. I won't. I won't be
No,
upset.
I got out of the business in 2006 and was consulting for a couple of years and started to transition little by little into producing. And I felt like many of the skill levels were something that I could transfer.
Like which ones?
For me, especially learning about operating, a business from a certain scale, managing a production to me was the same as managing
People.
our people,
Yeah.
our schedule, our shipments, our inventories. It's just different things, but the skills are definitively transferable. And the biggest thing, honestly, is the people aspect.
Yeah.
Because, in our industry, you can't treat everybody exactly the same. You
No.
can't walk into production and say, this
No.
is how it's going to be for everybody. It doesn't work like that. And I think the way you bring out the best in people is finding what makes that person tick and then pressing those buttons the right
Yeah.
way. But not everyone ticks the same way.
Yes.
So that's one of the biggest things I learned in that business that I found to be transferable. But for me, it was one of those things where when we left the company, when I left, and I was consulting, my wife just kept telling me, "What are you doing? What are you waiting for? You've always wanted to do this. You've been dabbling in it for years.
You're
Just do
never
it
going to be
already."
ready.
Yeah,
You're never going to be ready.
and I had 3 kids at home. My wife wasn't working at that time. So you feel the weight of the responsibility, and you feel almost silly and irresponsible that you want to do something like that. But you only get one chance to go on the merry-go-round, and I'm like, you know what? We're gonna try to make it work.
Well, you did great with Paradiso Pictures.
Thank
Is
you,
a very, respected and well-known company,
thank you.
and I think that you obviously have a knack for something because you did the cookware
Mm,
and now you're doing that and you are as successful in both
mm.
industries, and I think it's very admirable.
Thank you, thank
You're
you. It's
welcome.
been a long journey.
So I wanted to ask you about like finding talent
Yes.
before social media.
Hmm.
How did you find talent, like whether it was casting calls or there were no, I talk about before IG Reels.
Hmm.
And do you prefer like old school editing or tape
Hmm.
or even DaVinci Resolve,
Hmm.
anything like that? Like what do you, how are you when it comes to um, technology and finding people to act in
Well,
your
you know,
films?
when it came to the casting, there's probably a million things that I can say that I'm bad at. But I think one of the things that I think has always been a strength of mine is identifying talent. And so, you know, back before you had everything that's so accessible to us now through technology and
Yes.
digitally, I would watch every series I could think of, every film I could think of when we were looking for talent for something. Um, Most of the time when we did castings for our shows, we did national castings. And, you know, even back then, you know, 10, 12 years ago, people would send in tapes and people would send in things. But whenever we can fly to a different city and get in front of people, I
Yeah.
always felt like that was almost better because
Yeah, for sure.
it goes beyond what's on the tape.
For sure.
It's almost about interacting with the person, getting to know the person. I think that that's almost as important. You want to make sure that this talent is going to vibe with the other folks that are involved in the production. And I think that you can play more with the casting and the audition process when you're sitting in front of the person
Yeah.
physically.
Yeah.
So that part of it, I don't love that everything is on tape nowadays for the most part, like all the way through the process. But I do think it's important to meet with people and to get their takes. And, you know, when it comes to technology in particular, as much as I love it, I also see how it's affecting some folks in the industry negatively. And that's a concern to me. I mean, I can see people in the world of VFX, and it just, you know, when you see a massive post house like the Mill that was so, you know, respected globally,
Yeah.
you know, shut their doors.
Yeah. That was
you know,
a shock.
there's a shock,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of great things that come from the tech, but there's going to be a lot of casualties along the way too, and that's a shame.
I mean, I just finished a film and I didn't leave Miami for post. We had a link that was live for 12 hours a day, and I was able to watch what the director was doing, get up and have water, you know, walk around a little bit and come back, and it would just be there. And it felt wrong. It just felt wrong. But
You know, one of the things I've always loved the most on the different shows we've produced over the years, I was essentially the EP and the showrunner on these different projects. So oftentimes while we were filming on set, I was also hopping from set to the editing suite. And there was nothing like sitting with the editor and
in the
just
dark
going, okay,
room for
exactly,
10 hours a day.
go back,
Yeah.
go back. Let me take a look at this take.
Yeah,
Let me
yeah.
look at every take in this sequence from both angles. And
Yeah.
let me, you know, and then just piecing it together and finding the right moment, even if it's just a beat that conveys an emotion that you weren't seeing earlier.
Or even if you see like a mistake, a mic or a boom or just something that isn't right, it's very hard to see it on your 13-inch laptop.
Super hard.
So
Much easier
really
to see it in person.
I miss
Yeah.
that's something I miss is the editing part.
And there's such a collaborative nature
Yeah.
when you're in there, because you really are like, that's where you're making it.
Yeah.
It's so that part of it, like you said, it's super convenient. You didn't have to fly anywhere or go anywhere
Yeah,
or
but
leave your house.
it was just it
But
lacked,
there is something that
it
is
lacked
lost.
soul. The soul wasn't there.
Yeah, there's something that's
You know?
lost in that for sure.
So you have produced for networks, for festivals, for global audiences, very big shows. And I just was wondering, first of all, in your opinion, like what makes a great production and how do you keep everything sane and settled and organized in, you know, at the same time in different countries?
Well, I'll answer the second question first. For me, there's kind of a mantra that I live by when it comes to production, and I've told this to people before close to me. It's a saying: calm is contagious. When you're an EP in the show, and when you walk in on set,
Yes.
and you can maintain your composure and be calm even when things are stressful, people feed off of that. When they see that you're relaxed and you're good, and
And
you
you're
know,
it's like a pilot on a plane or the flight attendants. Yeah.
and you're going through turbulence, but you know,
Yeah.
this is going to be fine. Let's just do this, this, and this, and we'll be good. People feed off of that the
Yeah.
same way they feed off of the negative energy that can become a cancer on set. So for me, calm is contagious. For me, that's the most important thing, to spread that type of vibe on a production.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like it has a real domino effect on how other people work. And, for me, making a production efficient, there's a couple of key things. But for me, one of the most important things is I don't ever pretend I'm the smartest guy in the room. I want to hire people who know what they do a lot more than what I know in terms of their specialty. Um, I think if you're the smartest person in the room on every production, then you haven't hired right.
Correct.
You just haven't brought in the right people.
So well said.
You need to bring in the people who know what they're doing, who bring out the best in the project, and give them the wings to do it.
Give them freedom to do
Yeah,
it.
and then you just even when you're show running and when you've produced as well, 150 questions a day, and people want guidance.
Mm-hmm.
But I would notice as the series would go, I would get a little less questions each day because I kept giving people autonomy. I kept telling them, why are you coming to ask me? You already know what you need to do. Do this, do that. And if you want me to take a look at it, I'll look at it. If you feel good about it, I feel good about it. And that kind of confidence in people breeds loyalty. It just
and
makes
you always
everyone.
In your next project, you always hire the same people
I
over and
try.
over because you get
I don't.
comfortable.
I
with
try
them.
to. I don't always.
Mm-hmm.
I do like to work with different people just to get different creative juices into the flow and into different projects. But I do think that creating that loyalty and that positivity is so critical. And earlier in my career, I dealt with people who were difficult on sets, and I saw what it did. And I thought, geez, when I get to the point that it's my set, like I'm just not going to allow it because, and I've had to let people go in the middle of a project in key roles that are really important, and it stinks.
I get you.
But I'm like, I can't bring this person back tomorrow.
So I wanted to ask you something that I think you can ask any filmmaker, but you in particular. How do you master the art of saving time, saving money without cutting quality?
So I've had the fortune of, when I came up, I was producing a lot for the Latin American market. And the Latin American market, as you know, has half or a third of the budget that the general market has. But the expectation should be the same in terms of what you're delivering, right?
But it's not, and you can see the difference on
you
TV.
often can see it. First when I started out in advertising, we'd have a campaign, and let's just throw a hypothetical number. They'd give us $100,000 to produce this commercial campaign. And I would hear that the same campaign is being shot in Chicago for general market for a little over $300,000. And I'd see that, and I'd look at our spot, and it looked as good as theirs.
Yeah.
And I just kept thinking, okay, we had to do a million things to cut corners to make it work, to put every dollar we could onto the screen. But the benefit that served me is that I learned how to filter what's not going to be on screen and is a whim of somebody in one of the head of departments versus.
So you're in control of what
put it this way, when we know that we're financially strapped, I always ask the heads of department to bring all their ideas and everything. And then we kind of, it's like a puzzle, and this financially, you're playing with all the little pieces to make everything work. And you'll realize, okay, you know what? We're not going to see this really on screen. This is not a big deal, but this is going to cost several $1,000s. We don't need it. It's a nice to have, but we don't need it. Let's, instead of doing that, let's get that money and let's use it towards these amazing lenses that we are going to see the difference in on the screen.
Sure. The lenses are like
huge.
Key. Yeah.
So, you start learning how to piece all that together. And like one of the series that we did, for example, our budget for cast, post, and production was about 43% of what the budget was in LA for the same show.
Wow.
And I would tell you that our show looked better. And
I'm sure
the executives would come in at the end of the show, and we had a dinner one night. I'll never forget it. And I was sitting next to the EVP of the network, and she's like, I don't know how you guys
I must have lost
this.
that invitation. Sorry, I didn't show up yet.
So we were having a great dinner at a really nice restaurant in Miami, and she's like, how did you guys do this? And honestly, having to learn through having less to work with and finding ways to make it as efficient as you could so we can put all the money onto the screen And you know, when you're filming these longer form projects, you learn things like block shooting. You learn things like just find,
Rehearsing,
yeah,
rehearsing.
rehearsing,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
find efficiencies. You know, creating splinter units with a little bit of money so we can get a little bit extra coverage, a
Yeah.
little bit of extra B-roll with this
Yeah.
other talent that's not going to
Yeah.
be needed on the main screen at that moment. So you
Yeah. So
find ways.
you definitely maneuver.
I'm very
It's like a
mindful
chess
of it.
game.
I'm
You
very
just
mindful of
maneuver.
it. And
Yeah.
I love it. I have to tell you, I love the aspect of when an AD would bring all the different scenes we had to shoot
Mm-hmm.
on a given day or whatever, and we were in multiple locations and figuring out how to piece everything together
Yeah,
where we
like a
would
puzzle.
be the most
Yeah.
efficient with our time
Because
that
you know
day.
that editing can make or break a film.
Yeah.
You can make a beautiful film, and the editor can just put it
Butcher
together
it.
the wrong way. Right. So I want to play a game with you. It's a
Okay.
fast game. Okay.
Okay,
So
cool.
I mention a topic, and you say either keep rolling, which means you're not into it, or roll credits, which means you've done it, you like it, go with it.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Shooting in extreme weather.
Pass. I don't like, especially in Miami, the heat down here. That's as extreme as it gets.
And you
Filming,
often wonder how Miami got so big as a film hub with all this stuff. Yeah.
filming in the late
So
July
it's
on the beach. It's a down.
Okay.
It's a. What was the not roll with it? The other one. What was the game early on? The roll credits. Is that what you said?
Oh,
Or-
yeah.
yeah.
It was roll credits or keep rolling.
Keep rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you cast an influencer?
If the person was right for the part, and if
Only
they
because
had-
of numbers I'm talking about.
I'm interested in getting the best person possible for the role. More than that.
Are you comfortable with AI enhanced editing, or are you nervous that it's going to take over and let your friends lose their jobs, or do you use it to your advantage?
I don't love the idea of it. I hate to see the post industries getting affected by it negatively.
Mm-hmm.
I do think what's going to happen is you're going to see places that had, for example, that invested millions in like the Unreal Engine
Yeah,
and things like that.
absolutely. Yeah,
You're going to be able to shoot someone in a green screen and
I
create
know.
that world on AI for a fraction
I
of the
know.
cost.
If anything.
If it
Yeah.
So, especially in a couple of years,
Yeah.
where it's going to be even more affordable. So, it's a shame, but I do see the value in it. But I wish that wasn't the case, to be honest.
Do you often work with music supervisors?
I have before, and it isn't often. More often than not, on the commercial end of things, advertising, people want to work with stock music. Whenever we can work with original music, I
Or
always
licensed
prefer it.
music?
Or
So what about
licensed
a music
music.
supervisor that has crazy, amazing taste, like crazy
Oh, I
off
would
rogue?
love that. I would love that.
Okay. I'm a music supervisor. I don't do it often, but I do go rogue.
That's
And they
awesome.
allow me to, which is great. Yeah. What do you think about last minute script changes, like literally on set as it's happening? Do you ever do that?
I
Have you
did.
ever? Yeah.
We did many times when a joke wasn't landing, and we felt like we just needed to move on.
Yeah.
So
Did
I was
you?
okay with
And you
it.
did?
Yeah, I was okay
Okay.
with that.
We talked about this already, but what about remote post production workflows?
That is convenient, and I have done that many times to jump on a call and look at how things are coming out. We have a post house we sometimes work with in Uruguay that's very good
Interesting.
and reasonable from a
Is
cost
that because
perspective.
of incentives, cost?
It's
whatever?
costs. It's cost
It's all
related.
cost.
It's really cost related because there's amazing folks here in the States, but sometimes a project is just financially
doesn't make
constrained,
sense,
where
right,
you have to
exactly.
find it elsewhere. And in that instance, it's definitely convenient. But I actually had a client recently want to go old school and like sit in a color session and get together and go through it. And I was okay with it. I thought, well,
Yeah, I
it's
think
great.
it's the greatest thing ever.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more you can get out of it when you do that.
So, Eric,
Mm-hmm.
tell the listeners, please, how they can either get in touch with you or watch your movies or TV shows or just follow you on
Mm-hmm.
social media.
Well, we have our Instagrams and our hashtags on our website. It's paradisopictures.com. Paradise, but with an O in the end, paradisopictures.com.
Oh, let me ask you, how did you come? How did you?
Come up with a name.
How did you come up with Paradiso
I grew up
instead of Paraíso?
I grew up on a street called Paradiso Avenue.
Oh, wow.
And I had so many wonderful memories
Oh,
growing
that's
up
really sweet.
that I just thought, when I was thinking of a production name years ago, I thought, I have so many great memories here. Let me just name it after the street that I grew up on.
If I did that, I would have called my production company Bully Avenue, but I didn't. Yeah,
so everyone can find me there, and hopefully we're going to be posting a bunch of stuff. We have a feature film that we have that got distribution and is going to make it. We're going to be premiering it.
What's it called, and what's
it's
it
called
about?
The Shadow of the Sun. The Shadow of the Sun is a movie about two brothers. Leo is a down
That's the
on
Venezuelan
his
one, right?
Yes. That was.
I'm from Venezuela, so that's why I remember.
No. It won. It was nominated 16 times in Venezuela's Academy Awards, and it was submitted to the Oscars in 2024 for Best International Feature.
Amazing.
Did really well in the festival circuit. So it's a story about two brothers. Leo, who is a blue collar worker who is financially trapped and having major personal difficulties at home, and his younger brother Alex, who's deaf, who was born deaf.
Interesting.
Alex convinces Leo to dust off his musical chops and help him in a music competition.
Well, don't tell anymore, because now people aren't going to go see it.
But the nice thing about it is, I think it's a drama about brotherhood, inclusion, and the power that music has in everyone's lives.
Everyone, yeah. So I appreciate you coming. Thank you so much. Good luck with everything.
Let's do it again.
We will do it again. Yeah.
I would love to.
Thank you guys for watching Production Legends. We'll see you next time.